Have you ever felt that sudden, jarring shift where the air in the room just turns cold? One day you're on top of the world because she's laughing at your jokes, texting you first, and looking at you with that unmistakable spark in her eyes. You feel like you've finally cracked the code. Then, without warning, the wall goes up. The replies get shorter, the excuses get longer, and suddenly you're the one doing all the heavy lifting just to get a polite conversation out of her. You're left retracing your steps, wondering which word or action caused the collapse. But the harder you scramble for answers, the further she seems to drift. This isn't a glitch in her personality. It's a direct result of a psychological framework that most men are never taught. The mistake most men make is thinking that attraction is a logical checklist. You think if you have the right job, the right car, and treat her with enough kindness, she is logically obligated to stay attracted to you. But attraction doesn't live in the logical brain. It lives in the emotional center. The blunt reality is that a woman doesn't fall for your resume, your height, or even your personality in a vacuum. She falls for the internal emotional state that is triggered when she is around you. Every single interaction, every look, every text, every silence is being processed by her subconscious. She is constantly, instinctively measuring how you impact her nervous system. Does your presence make her feel centered and safe, or does it make her feel anxious and burdened? Does it spark a sense of excitement and mystery, or does it feel predictable and flat? If you don't understand this, you are essentially flying a plane without instruments. You might stay in the air for a while, but you won't know why you're crashing until it's too late. When a woman goes cold, it's almost always because the emotional frequency you were emitting changed. Perhaps you became too available and the excitement died. Perhaps you became too reactive to her moods and the security vanished. She isn't judging you as a person. She is reacting to the feeling of the dynamic. This is why you see good men get left for bad boys and why successful men get stuck in the friend zone. The man she stays with isn't necessarily the best man on paper. He is the man who masters the art of managing her emotional experience. Every moment you spend with her is a subconscious audit. She is looking for a specific duality. She wants to feel protected by your strength, yet stirred by your unpredictability. If you provide only comfort, you become a brother. If you provide only chaos, you become a temporary thrill. But if you miss the fact that she is constantly measuring these emotional shifts, you will always be reactive instead of proactive. You will be the man who is constantly running after a feeling that has already left the building, instead of being the man who creates the environment where she wants to stay. To win the game, you have to stop selling yourself and start understanding the chemistry of the feel you create. If you can't master the state of her emotions, you'll never truly own a place in her heart. The foundation of security. Why stability is everything when we talk about security. Most men immediately think of the external stuff, the size of their paycheck, the car they drive, or how much they can bench press. While those things represent a form of resource, they are not what actually makes a woman fall in love. True security is an internal frequency. It is the emotional, mental, and social certainty that you are a man of substance. Think of it like this. A woman's internal world can often be a whirlwind of shifting emotions, social pressures, and intuitive hits. Because her world can feel like a storm, she is biologically and psychologically wired to seek an anchor. She is looking for a man who is the constant in a world of variables. When she finds a man who remains steady and unshakable while everything else is in chaos, she finally feels she has found a safe harbor. This is the exact moment her biological defense mechanisms shut down and her heart actually begins to attach. This security isn't proven in grand, heroic speeches. It is communicated through thousands of tiny micro-moments. It's found in the way you handle a silent car ride after she's had a bad day, or the way you don't lose your cool when she challenges your opinion. If she pulls back to test the strength of the connection and you respond by panicking, triple texting, or acting desperate, you have just told her that your stability depends entirely on her mood. That is the opposite of security. To her, that feels like building a house on sand. She doesn't want a man she can manipulate or push over, because if she can push you over, she knows the rest of the world can too. She needs to know that when life hits hard, you won't collapse. When she realizes that you're the foundation she can lean on without it cracking, she finally feels free to stop being the protector of her own heart and starts relaxing into her feminine side. That relaxation is the fertile ground where deep, long term love grows. The spark of desire, igniting the electrical charge now, here is where most men get stuck. They provide the security, they become the rock, but then they wonder why the passion has died. It's because security without the second pillar is just friendship. To turn that connection into love, you must ignite desire. Think of desire as the electrical charge that keeps her heart racing and makes her restless for you when you aren't in the room. Desire is not something you can negotiate or talk her into. You can't be so nice that she eventually wants to rip your clothes off. In fact, desire is born from the exact opposite of comfort. It is born from contrast and tension. It lives in a space between you. If you are constantly available, constantly explaining yourself, and constantly hovering, you have effectively removed all the space. Without space, there is no tension. Without tension, there is no spark. The most common way men kill desire is by becoming a solved puzzle. If you hand over your entire life, your deepest secrets, and your total devotion on the first few dates, you've left her with nothing to discover. You've become the prize that was too easy to win, and human nature dictates that we don't value what we didn't have to earn. Desire thrives when she senses that you are a man with a mission, a purpose, and a life that exists entirely independent of her. It's the feeling that you are just out of reach, not because you are playing immature mind games, but because you are genuinely occupied with being a high-value man. When she sees that you choose her but don't need her to survive, it creates a magnetic pull. You become the challenge she wants to conquer every single day. If you want her to stay in love, you must remain the storm just as much as you are the rock. You have to be the man who provides a safe foundation, but also the man whose energy is so potent and independent that she never truly feels she has tamed you. That mystery is what keeps the spark alive for a lifetime. The fatal balance. Why you must master the duality, the single biggest reason most relationships crumble, is that men pick a side and stay there. They fall into the trap of thinking they have to be either the provider or the bad boy, but the truth is that a woman's heart requires both to stay engaged. Think about the nice guy. He is the king of security. He's always there, he's predictable, and he's incredibly supportive. But because there is no edge to him, no mystery, and no tension, the spark of desire completely suffocates. He doesn't realize that by being 100% available, he's become a comfort object rather than a romantic interest. On the flip side, you have the player or the rebel. He creates massive amounts of desire and excitement. He's unpredictable and magnetic, but because he offers zero security, she never truly opens her heart to him. She might have fun with him, but she'll never build a future with him because she can't trust him to be there when the world gets heavy. To be the man she can never forget, you have to stop choosing a side and start mastering the duality. You have to be the rock and the storm at the same time. This balance is a delicate paradox that creates the deepest form of rooted love. She needs to feel in her bones that you are an immovable force, that you aren't going anywhere, and that your loyalty is solid. However, that security must be balanced by the quiet understanding that your self-respect is even stronger than your feelings for her. She needs to feel that you could walk away the moment you are disrespected or your boundaries are crossed. If you overgive security, she subconsciously begins to take you for granted because there is no risk in losing you. If you only provide desire, she stays in a state of high anxiety and eventually replaces you with someone who feels safe. The magic happens right in the middle. You must be reliable enough for her to trust you with her soul, but just unpredictable and independent enough to keep her enchanted. When you master this, you aren't just another guy she's dating. You become the rare man who fulfills every part of her psychology. Passing the test, the gateway to her deepest respect before a woman ever fully commits her heart and her future to you, she is going to test you. It's important to understand that these tests aren't an attack on your character, and they aren't meant to be mean-spirited. They are subconscious invitations for you to prove that you are actually the man you claim to be. Think of it as a safety inspection. She needs to know if the foundation you've built is actually solid or if it's just a facade. When she suddenly withdraws her attention, cancels a plan, or challenges your values, she is watching your reaction with a magnifying glass. She is checking to see if you can be rattled. Most men fail here because they react with panic. They beg for clarity, they ask, "What's wrong?" 10 times, or they get angry and defensive. These reactions tell her one thing: your emotional stability is dependent on her. To her, that feels like a collapse of security. Every test is a direct measurement of your emotional core and your frame. When she pushes against you, she wants to feel that you are a man who stands his ground. If you remain calm, stay focused on your own life, and refuse to be dragged into an emotional whirlwind, you pass the test. A man who can defend his boundaries without resorting to anger or arrogance is incredibly magnetic. It shows her that you are a leader who doesn't need her constant approval to feel like a man. This creates a powerful shift in her mind. She realizes that you are someone she can truly lean on. By passing these tests with quiet confidence and a steady hand, you send a signal to her subconscious that you are the real deal. Her respect for you skyrockets, and her love deepens in a way that bypasses logic entirely. She starts to realize that she has found a man who can handle her, handle the world, and most importantly, handle himself. Recognizing the signals, reading the silent language of love, one of the most common mistakes men make is waiting for a woman to hand them a roadmap of her feelings. You're waiting for her to sit you down and say, "I am officially falling in love with you." But the reality of female psychology is that she will almost never announce it in words first. Instead, she speaks through a silent language of investment and vulnerability. You have to stop listening to what she says and start watching what she does. When she starts remembering the tiny, insignificant details of your life, the way you like your steak, a story you told weeks ago about your childhood, or a specific goal you mentioned in passing, she is signaling that her mind is actively anchoring itself to you. She is moving you from the category of casual interest to essential person. If you miss these signals because you're stuck in your own head or waiting for a verbal confirmation, you risk making her feel unseen, which can cause that growing fire to flicker and die before it ever truly roars to life. The ultimate indicator that her heart is fully engaged is priority. In a world where everyone is busy and attention is the most valuable currency, a woman in love will begin to weave you into the very fabric of her daily existence. You'll notice her rearranging her schedule just to catch 20 minutes of your time. You'll see her seeking your opinion on major life decisions, not because she can't decide for herself, but because she wants to know if her future aligns with yours. She begins to mirror your body language and open up about her deepest fears and insecurities, showing you the parts of herself she hides from the rest of the world. This is her inviting you into her inner sanctum. Your job in these moments is not to freak out or suddenly start smothering her with desperate validation because you're excited. Your job is to meet her vulnerability with steady, masculine confidence. You must acknowledge the investment she's making while still letting the connection breathe. If you stay grounded and continue being the man who sparked that interest in the first place, her attachment will only deepen. Staying in love, the secret to being unforgettable falling in love, is the easy part. It's the honeymoon phase fueled by chemicals and novelty. But staying in love is a deliberate choice, and it's a choice that many men inadvertently force a woman to abandon. The number one reason women leave men they once adored isn't usually a single catastrophic event. It's because the man they fell for slowly disappeared. He got comfortable. He stopped leading, stopped pursuing his purpose, and replaced his edge with complacency. He traded the storm for a life of soft predictability. When you stop being the version of yourself that won her heart, you effectively break the contract of the relationship. To stay in her heart forever, you must understand that you can never truly arrive. You must remain a man on a mission, someone who is constantly evolving and pushing his own boundaries. Think of love as a flame that requires a constant supply of oxygen to survive. That oxygen is your continued personal growth. You stay the rock by remaining the consistent, reliable man she can trust when life gets hard, but you stay the storm by remaining a challenge she hasn't fully conquered. The moment you let yourself go, mentally, physically, or emotionally, the polarity shifts. She starts to feel like the leader, and the moment she has to lead you, she can no longer desire you. If you want to be the man she never gets over, the man who remains her first and only choice for decades, you have to embody that duality of security and desire every single day. You must be her safest harbor and her greatest adventure. Never let comfort make you soft, and never stop being the man who has a world of his own outside of her. That balance is the secret to a love that doesn't just survive, but thrives until the very end.